talking about?
This is.
The episode after we do the most common things we fight about, we're going to be talking about our biggest flaws.
Yes. I think this is more a joke on us than it is for the audience. I think it's serious for them. If you guys missed last week's episode, or our last solo episode, we did our biggest fights, like what we fight about. But the comical thing of that episode was we literally started the episode in the middle of a fight, like a decent one. An argument, let me clarify.
An argument, yeah. I actually hope that was helpful because I feel like sometimes talking about how you do battle can help you improve.
Or just giving a real life example because we were in the thick of it.
That's right. Yeah. So the natural transition after an episode like that is to talk about our biggest flaws. So not only are we going to be sharing what we think our biggest flaws are, what Andrew thinks Andrew's biggest flaws.
We're going to be telling each other what we think each other's biggest flaws is as well.
So needless to say, a little nervous.
Yeah.
This actually came from a daily devotional, though, that Shawn and I were reading. And it talked about how it's important not to be blind to your own flaws.
Yes. So you're supposed to be very self-reflective.
Yeah.
And say, what am I doing wrong? What could I do better? But also, on the flip side, you're supposed to be receptive to your spouse's critiques because your spouse knows you better than anyone in the world.
Yeah. And ultimately, if you do this in a mature way, it can really benefit the relationship, I think.
Yeah.
Do you think that?
Yeah, I'm scared, though, for this. So we talked about this many, many times on our podcast with our goal setting. Something that we do within our relationship is once a month, we try to find a safe space. And what we call a safe space is somewhere that is not our home. So we go to a coffee shop, we go to dinner, whatever it is, and it's strictly dedicated to, for lack of a better word, criticism. And what that means for us is basically, we call it our monthly check-in. Mm-hmm. And whenever we go to this safe space, we're like, okay, this is our place for the next hour where we can sit and tell each other, you know what, this month I've had a really hard time with X, Y, and Z. You not closing the cabinets, whatever it is. It can be ridiculous, it can be serious, it can be superficial, whatever. But it's meant to be a place where we can bring up these issues that we have that are on our heart. And it's supposed to be, the rule is you have to be able to accept it in a gentle way and not get defensive.
Yeah, and also deliver it.
Yeah.
Gently. It's not attacking so easily. Shawn and I can slip into Shawn, you never take out the trash. And it's just this reactive thing where I'm emotional and then she becomes emotional as a result. So the thing we try to do in those monthly check-ins is take a step back and analyze the patterns that we've seen, which is super helpful. When you think of it in terms of patterns of, hey, this is a healthy habit or pattern, this is an unhealthy habit or pattern, and say, I don't think this is healthy. I've been seeing you do X, Y, Z. I've seen you drink a glass of wine every night this week, and let's maybe not pursue that pattern. But
are you bringing this up?
Now is now a
is
good
that
time?
One of them?
No, but the other thing about that is if there's patterns where you're gripey or you're having patterns of broken relationships because you're too quote unquote honest with people, maybe that's not a healthy pattern for you. So anyway, this passage that I want to read says that there are things about yourself that you are ashamed of or afraid of, but you don't let the other person see your flaws. Mm-hmm. And of course, you cannot show your partner those parts of your character that you cannot see yourself, and which will only be revealed to you in the course of marriage, which is the reason that Shawn and I love marriage so much. Is there's no other relationship structure like it. You have the contract, you have the spiritual aspect, you have the financial aspect, you have the parenting aspect, if that's an add-on that you include. But it's it really is the most intertwined relationship that we can have as humans. And so even the contractual side of things is good because it's a hurdle that prevents people from escaping the relationship easily. And obviously exceptions, we could talk about those, but me not being able to just be all right, I'm out. See you, Shawn. It was a nice 7 years.
Yeah.
Forces us to deal with flaws.
Yeah.
And hopefully we can do that better and better as time goes on.
I do want to add a couple of things. So speaking on those monthly check-ins that we do, I want to put an asterisk there and let you guys know we don't save like critiques only for once a month.
Yeah.
So
Shawn unleashes on me hourly.
minute by minute.
Speaking of your biggest flaws. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, okay. So we are having daily communication throughout the day, weekly, as far as like gripes and vents and like whatever it is. So we don't save that, but I do think we bring those critiques or criticism up more gently during that monthly check-in, that we should do better day to day. Another thing to note is every single person in every single relationship has flaws. And if you're sitting there here listening to this podcast, you're like, oh, we have no flaws. I would actually kind of challenge you to not look for a flaw. It sounds weird, but like be more self-reflective and see if there's something that you can better. Because I think constantly trying to better yourself is a great thing.
Yeah. You ever been around those people that like, I guess it's kind of like a one-upper would be like a flaw. Yeah. Where it's like, oh, I heard your story about how delightful your interior design process went. Let me tell you how mine was even better.
Yeah.
So it's like the no flaws thing in and of itself is a flaw. But some of the things that we should share before we share some flaws is that if we put on our best face in marriage and hide all the uncomfortable stuff from the person that we love the most, then there's no way that our spouse can fully know us. And so like, it's almost like, don't let your insecurities be an obstacle for love.
I've actually been challenged with this in our relationship because I did come from a lot of like quote unquote scars, whether it was from like eating disorders or whatever, perfectionism, gymnastics, a lot of different things that I tried so hard for so long to just hide from Andrew. And not to say like so long, like the 10 years we've been together, but I spent at least our first or second year trying to like not let him see that side of me. And I finally got to a point where I was like, you know what? This is exhausting. And I kept having this like thought in my mind, if only he knew who I was, he wouldn't want to be with me. And so there was literally one day where I just unleashed and I was like, this is everything wrong with me.
I remember that day.
And it was really emotional for both of us because it showed such like trauma and insecurity and all these things. But the best thing that ever happened to us was like moving forward from that and him being able to help me with my insecurities, my flaws, and actually challenge me to be better and to be like my teammate and not just a critic.
Yeah, it's also like not giving your partner enough credit. Like in that situation, Shawn, first of all, there's no hiding anything. It's like, all right, if you have an eating disorder or you have this demon from your past, like you're always going to be anxious in XYZ situations when it's, an associative event or you're not going to be enjoying the meal because you have all these thoughts. It's like my goal, honestly, when we started making YouTube videos, I told you this, with making videos and my goal as your husband is like, I feel like the more the world can get to see of the real Shawn, like that, the girly, no, I'm just, when you start giggling and like you are you, that's the best freaking, that's the best.
Thank you.
There's nothing like that. So how can I just cut through all that insecurity? Because it's like, it freaking doesn't matter. It doesn't. I don't care about that. It's like, there's something, whatever.
Okay.
That's my rant. Anyway, so it is this concept of like, accept the gift of love and like, just be open to that. You got to be a good receiver. Also, it's easy in marriage to be critical of the other person and fail to see your own flaws. So we try to be really aware of where we personally fall short and like this concept of be the audience to your own life. Not always easy. Takes a lot of work and self-reflection. I
will say though, that's very difficult. It's very difficult, especially 100%. If it's a practice. And I think with practice, things become easier. And when they become easier, they become routine. So it's very easy to fall into a pattern of, oh, you're doing this and you're doing that. And this is where you're wrong. And this is like, whatever. But if you are constantly trying to challenge that with, you know what, I can do better at this. And if you have a critique or criticism, deliver it in a gentle way. But yeah, be the first to own something on your own side before you point the finger at someone else.
Yeah, I've been trying to shift my mentality from what's wrong with Shawn to what is collectively wrong with us. So if Shawn has 5 things wrong with her and I have 6 things wrong with me,
excuse me,
collectively we have 11 things wrong with us. And if I take care of 2 of my own instead of honestly doing the way harder work, which is trying to get you to change your 5, then we will have less. We'll have less things wrong between us.
It's a lot to unpack there, but we'll do that later. Okay, I want to get into this. Our biggest flaws.
Okay.
Let's just talk about what we think our biggest flaws in marriage are. And I'm talking about individually. Let's start there.
All right. What's wrong with Andrew in our marriage?
No, you talk about yourself and I'll talk about myself. I'm happy to start.
Go for it.
I am my worst critic. Is that how you say that? I am a perfectionist, and I set the bar way, way too high on expectations for myself. And when it comes to our marriage, if I ever don't live up to the expectation that I've set for myself, I take it out on everybody because I get into this spiral of just disappointment and bad self-talk, and it just never is good for anyone. And I get defensive and all of these things, and it affects our marriage. I would say that is my biggest flaw in our marriage. Is I expect perfection from myself, if not everybody.
Which is also part of the reason why I love you, though.
Thank you.
That's the irony. All right, so then let's go. Now let me talk about the things I think are wrong with you.
No.
I'm kidding.
I'll start here. So Andrew.
I think I overcommit us. And I've been really challenged by the fact that when I do that, it negatively impacts you, which just seems like such an obvious thought that I should have had 7 years ago. But I just had it. So
wow.
Last week I had that thought. I was like, huh. Anyway, so that's one. I would say expectations in the sense of scheduling, I'm not good at. Right? Like, are those 2 separate things?
I don't.
You want to separate those? I'm saying I don't set expectations for hey, I'm busy these 4 hours of the day, or set expectations of I'll be home at this appropriate time, whatever.
I think maybe I'm just going to chime in here. I think maybe a better way of voicing that flaw is communication.
I actually think I'm a good communicator.
Okay, great.
I think I'm a...
Do you remember an hour ago?
I'm trying to be honest.
An hour ago when we had a phone call
Shawn.
and I was stuck at home without a car, and I was like, can you pick me up on your way to the office?
Look, I freaking called you, dude. I called you.
Did I answer?
No.
Okay.
I called you at 12:57.
Did you think to text me?
I had a call. Anyway.
And what's funny is that communication side of I texted you and I was like, are you still picking me up? I tried to call you. I was like, did you forget about me? And you just didn't.
See how you just freaking jumped in and started doing my critiques for me, flaws?
Well, it's unnecessary. I'm sorry. I'm kidding.
I would say the other thing is I don't struggle with overbearing, I don't think, or being too anxious or like OCD about stuff. Maybe I'm the opposite, where it's I'm too lax, even with the kids, where it's they're okay. He can climb on the table.
I would say I'm probably the more overbearing one.
Yeah. I would maybe that's a flaw. Is I have a tinge of recklessness.
Yeah. You said it though.
I think I probably expend energy on a lot of things before I expend energy with you. Yeah, we've had that conversation with friends, with I'll work out, then I'll hang out with friends, and then I'll be too tired to hang out with you and give you my best. Do you forgive me?
Yeah, I would agree with that. And that one
You're still talking about flaws for me.
That one hurts my soul.
No.
It does.
Also, don't make a freaking too big a deal out of it. It's like, all right, it is how it is. What can we do?
What can we do, Andrew?
Reprioritize. Shift things around so I'm able to give you your best. Anyway, today's episode is brought to you by BetterHelp. Listen, people don't always realize that physical symptoms like headaches, sleeping too little, sleeping too much, undereating, and overeating can all be indicators of stress. And as a parent, we definitely get too little sleep. So we're working to stay on top of things mentally. And with BetterHelp, speaking with a therapist has never been easier. BetterHelp is customized online therapy that offers video, phone, and even live chat sessions with your therapist, so you don't have to see anyone on camera if you don't want to. I've recently been chatting online with a therapist, and it's been a game changer. As a parent, sometimes the chat feature is the easiest thing to do since we don't have a lot of time on our hands. So if you haven't tried therapy, and if you haven't tried online therapy, why not give it a try right now? Couple Things is sponsored by BetterHelp, and our listeners get 10% off their first month at betterhelp.com/eastfam. That's BetterHelp.com/eastfam. Give it a try. Let's get back to it. Do you want to talk about, was there any revelations that you had with these specific flaws? Was there a moment where you're like, oh, I realized it? And
probably
how?
right now when the question's asked and you have to self-reflect. I don't know. I've always been pretty aware of my like perfectionism issues, I would say. But I do notice them at times with like within our marriage and being a parent. I am way too hard on myself. And when I get hard on myself, I get down. And when I get down, I get defensive. And it's just a perpetuating cycle. And it never ends well. So I think working on that, kind of going back to the beginning of this episode when we were saying you kind of have to be very self-reflective and work on yourself before you can ever criticize someone else. I think it makes it easier for me sometimes to be like, oh, if only he was doing this, it would help. Or if only so-and-so did this better, it would help, when it's actually like a me problem.
I think as we get older, like the number of commitments that we have grows, and especially as we have kids and those commitments like really expand, the list of commitments grows. Like I used to be able to overcommit us collectively and it not really be a problem. Like, oh, we could fly to New York today and then LA tomorrow and then this.
I think it might have still been a problem.
No, it was, but the problem exposes itself way more
when you have kids.
Yeah.
Yeah, because someone's left at home with the kids for X amount of time or whatever.
This feels like a sore spot.
No. I didn't mean it like that.
Okay.
I will say, too, a flaw that we both carry and we have to work at constantly is we're both very stubborn. And
what? Are we speaking for each other or for yourself?
I'm speaking for...
I don't see a list of our collective flaw. Just speak for yourself, bro.
No, this is a collective flaw. Would you agree?
What just happened? Go ahead.
I touched you. I'm trying to give it back. I think a collective flaw for both of us is we're stubborn. We both have very, very strong opinions. We're very independent. We're very driven. And
what? Are you speaking for me now? Did we transition to?
Let me finish.
Use the pronoun I. You just say it.
No.
Say it. Are you serious?
No. This is a perfect example.
You're out of bounds.
Oh my god. Case in point, I'm too stubborn to say we. He's too stubborn to accept it.
That's gold, dude.
Hey, Andrew, would you
I'm crying.
would you say you're stubborn?
Let me speak for my own self. I have tears in my eye.
Okay, so the next section says think of something or a few things you view as a flaw in the other person. Andrew, I would say you are stubborn. What I was gonna say is we're both stubborn. We have opinions. We're strong-headed. Strong-willed. Just like you witnessed.
Hard-headed, strong-willed.
There we go. And that makes for butting heads.
I think sometimes your empathy radar is too sensitive. This happens. No. I know. It's a really amazing
I think your
thing.
empathy radar isn't existent.
That's not true.
That's a blank statement.
Accurately.
I think your empathy radar could be stronger.
I definitely cross more bounds consciously. I think like Shawn will see this happens at restaurants. Like I'll be like, "Hey, excuse me, can I have some more water?" And she'll be like, "That was aggressive." And I was like, "No, it freaking wasn't. I just asked for water."
It was the freaking in there unnecessary.
That was aggressive. But all I'm saying is that was an example of a restaurant. It also happens in our relationship where she's like, "You seem sad." I'm like, "I'm freaking not."
Is the freaking necessary?
I know,
it
was a joke. It was a joke. But there's like, you're like so sensitive to that stuff where it's counterproductive sometimes. Not that productivity is always the point, but it's like, all right, we got to make dinner. So can we freaking...
Oh my gosh.
You get it. So that's one thing.
I would say...
But I also appreciate it about you. So
I would say something I appreciate about you. No, not really. I'm kidding. Something that we struggle with, but I would say is your flaw, is you tend to argue in a cold manner.
I agree with that.
You think it's more beneficial to remove emotion and like sympathy or comfort of any kind because you think it's more productive. When I understand it might feel that way for you, but not for me.
I think I view it as like, hey, we have an issue. Let's figure out what it is and fix it. This is cliche. But you're like, I just want to feel loved.
What's wrong with
Nothing.
that?
But if you bring up an issue, then I'm going to want to fix it. Oh, this is so interesting.
Maybe that's the issue to begin with, is me not feeling loved.
I think that probably one of my flaws is, are we talking about each other's or?
Either.
Shawn has like, all right, orderliness.
Mm-hmm. OCD.
Like Shawn's mom will come and help with things around the house, right? Mm-hmm. But she's not always there. So when your mom's not there, you still expect things to be super tidy and orderly.
Yes.
But we have just less possibility of that. There's less time and help to have that happen.
Yeah.
And so it's like, we can't do it, dude. I'm riding bikes with Drew. I'm not going to clean up the kitchen. Today's episode is brought to you by Levels Health. I know that a lot of you have seen the sensor that I wear on my arm in the videos. Actually, this weekend we posted one and it got a lot of feedback. But this is my Levels monitor. Levels uses a continuous glucose monitor, which is what I have here, and has been a game changer in understanding how our food affects our health. I got Shawn hooked on one too, and we're super pumped. Levels helps you see how food affects your health by giving you real-time feedback on your diet using a continuous glucose monitor. When we first started as Levels members, we thought that we understood our metabolic health pretty well, but it turns out, like most people, we had no idea how some foods were affecting us until we got our hands on our body's own unique data. Levels has tangibly changed my diet and how and when I eat. I used to crush carbs in the morning for breakfast, but I realized that come 11 or 12 o'clock, I would crash and feel like I needed to take a nap. And Levels helped show me that my blood sugar was quite literally spiking and then crashing. And that's what was causing my drop in energy levels. And now, instead of just a feeling, I have real data to back that up with. So if you want to better understand how food affects your health and try a continuous glucose monitor yourself, go to levels.link/EastFam to learn more. They also have a really well-researched, in-depth blog that we recommend checking out if you're just looking to learn more about topics like metabolic health, longevity, and nutrition. We've learned a ton. Thank you, Levels, for sponsoring today's episode, and let's get back to it.
I think
I'm going to easy on the throttle here.
one of Andrew's flaws is a lack of order.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
I'm just here for a good time, not a long time. You feel me?
What was that? It's funny. We had a marriage therapist once say this to us. We talked to her about a year ago, and we kind of went through this whole motion here of like speaking about flaws and gripes and venting, whatever beef we had on the table. And we would go one by one. And then she would kind of like move on, and she'd be like, okay, tell me about each other. What do you love about each other? Why did you marry each other? Why did you choose one another? And we got through this whole session. At the end, she said, it's really interesting. And you see it a lot. Like she was saying herself, she sees it a lot in couples who have been married longer than a few years. She said, usually when you get married, you marry the opposite person, right? It's like opposites attract. And that's this honeymoon phase of what you love so much in your spouse is I'm so OCD and Andrew's so free-spirited. And I loved that about him. I like idolize that, and I want more of that in myself. But she said, as you get within this rhythm of life, you start to try to morph your spouse into who you are. And you get very frustrated that, oh, I wish Andrew would be more OCD. I wish he would clean more. I wish he would do all these things. And you said, isn't it interesting how what you married is now the one, like the issue of why you're like venting or at counseling altogether. And it's just
the quality that you loved and were attracted by is now the quality that you're annoyed by.
Yeah. And it was just a perspective change of like, wow, instead of constantly trying to change your spouse, you need to, one, and Andrew and I have talked about this, realize why you married him to begin with and why you fell in love with him, and don't lose sight of that, and look more for compromise than change. Of how can we better both suit each other with how we're changing in life and phasing in life, rather than trying to say like, oh, I need Andrew to no longer be free-spirited. I need him to be like me.
That's so difficult. We're not there yet. Really.
We're not.
Yeah, we're not there.
We're working on it.
It's so hard.
Yeah.
It takes like a different perspective to get there.
Yeah, because like I know you want me to be more free-spirited, but you also, the reason why you married me when we were talking to this therapist was like, you loved my intentionality and drive and perfectionism and like all of those qualities, which is interesting.
As I'm sitting here thinking about it, it's interesting because I am super orderly in certain aspects and super not in other aspects. Mm-hmm. Like financially, freaking orderly. You're more free-spirited in that sense.
Yeah. Right?
With home, like orderliness, you're way more buckled down. I'm like, whatever. With commitment,
I'm more free-spirited and you're more
with professional commitments. With personal commitments, you're locked in. Yeah. With professional commitments, I'm locked in. Personal commitments, I'm like, how we could miss that sometimes. Do you disagree with that?
Oh, I disagree with that.
Anyway, it's interesting that like it is just like it's like kind of pick or choose, right? And so this is where I think it's so important to have this generous perspective for your spouse. Mm-hmm. Like wear rose-colored glasses legitimately and realize that I'm around Shawn every freaking moment of the day.
Stop using freaking.
And so I guess it's natural instinct to only start seeing your flaws and totally overlook the things that you contribute, right? It's like, let me make the comparison to doing the dishes. Every time I load the dishwasher, I have the thought, I do the dishes every dang time. And it's so wrong. It's such a wrong thought. Because I do the dishes maybe, I don't know if I had to put a number to it, 10 to 20% of the time.
Yeah.
But it's just like, I just feel like I do it more than I actually do. And in that process of me whining about my issues, I completely disregard all the times you've done it and all the things you've helped with. Anyway, so do that with, like, what if you could do that with all of the things?
Yeah.
Of, you know what, Shawn is loose on commitments, but dang, I'm so glad that she has, she missed that commitment because she was here to like take care of the house. I don't know, like, that's how we should be looking at it. We made that Instagram video the other day of, yeah, sure, I'll drive an hour to go see you when we're dating. And then when you're married, it's like,
stay on your side of the bed and don't touch me.
Why is that though?
I don't know.
Like
well, isn't that something else that one of our therapists had talked about? The whole roommate syndrome of, like, you can only spend so much time with each other before you all need a break. And I'm not talking about a dramatic break in a relationship. I'm saying, like, a break away from each other, to be independent, to be your own person. And especially after the pandemic, like, we all spent so much time together. And Andrew and I work together, live together, parent together, our spouses, all of these things. And we spend every waking second together. So every once in a while, we just need time away from each other to miss each other. And to, like, miss the qualities that we love.
It's like when you're so zoomed in, you see every flaw. Like, 1080, 4K, I can see every pore in your face and the skin.
Is that a flaw?
Flaws. But if I'm like back, if I take a step back, I'm like, wow, you know what? Shawn really is beautiful. Also, as we talk about
flaws,
I was just a zoom in analogy.
Oh, wait, I have a fun thing for us. Fun, keep it lighthearted. This is
how Shawn starts. This legitimately, whatever you're about to ask a challenging question that's going to set me up for failure. She'll be like, all right, what, be having a great time. Okay, let's talk about what couch we want to buy next. Argument. Go ahead.
Maybe you should self-reflect that a little bit.
Okay.
I was going to say 10 flaws, lighthearted, back and forth.
For me?
Yeah, just like go back and forth.
For myself?
No, for me. Get them off our chest.
I honestly I cannot think of 10.
5.
I can't. I named my 3.
That's all you have.
Go ahead. Unleash. Go for it.
I'm thinking like LaCroix. Is that a
Okay. Shawn puts trash in the sink, not the freaking trash can. That's 1.
We need a tally count for freaking.
Go ahead.
Andrew doesn't put used paper towels in the trash can. He sets them on the counter.
Shawn over orders food every time. Blanket statement. She over orders food sometimes.
Andrew doesn't wear deodorant.
Shawn will clean up my vanity mirror, and hers will be an absolute tornado of a mess.
Andrew will leave his shoes on top of the couch.
Oh, Shawn will she's like a tail cleaning up sometimes. I'll open an Amazon box and be pulling this item out.
And then you'll chuck the box around
is gone.
Across.
It's like she'll clean up the tools from the toolbox as I'm using them.
You're welcome.
Hey, I just laid those out for a freaking reason.
You're welcome.
No, I'm not thanking you for that. Go ahead. You're next.
You'll work out and get into such a sweaty state. And you won't wipe your sweat, but you'll let it drip on the counter and the couch and the table and everything.
A sweaty state.
Yeah.
Shawn will just interrupt my moments of focus, which come rarely, with look at this TikTok video, and then I say no, and she'll be like, no, you have to look at it. It's hilarious, and then I won't laugh at it.
I'm just giving you moments of joy, okay? Andrew justifies every second on his phone as work, but if I'm on my phone, it's just unnecessary waste of time.
Shawn doesn't let me fall asleep when she watches a movie, so
No, I don't want to watch a movie by myself. Andrew will go like this. He'll be like, "Babe, you want to watch a movie with me tonight?" I'll be like, "Yes." 10 minutes into the movie, he's asleep.
Is that a gripe of yours? A flaw of mine?
Yeah. Okay, one more.
Shawn asks for a back scratch every night and realizes that I don't get anything in return. I don't even mean it like that. I don't mean it like that. I don't mean it like that.
You know what I do? I ask.
Yeah.
What do you want in return, Andrew?
I don't. Go ahead.
love you.
Are there any flaws that I see in you that you don't think are a flaw?
Like the back scratch.
Yeah.
It's not a flaw.
Yeah, no, you're right. It's not a bad. I agree with you.
You don't get anything in return.
I can think of 2 times that I have consciously made a decision that I knew Shawn disagreed with. And I said, I understand, and I'm not listening to you. I can really only think of one.
I can only think of one.
But yeah. Anyway, that's interesting. And I think that's fortunate. That if you thought there was a flaw in me that I was like, it was a quality that I was proud of, that would cause a lot of friction.
Yeah.
Anyway, challenge for you listening, now that you've heard us go through this. We want to encourage you to have a conversation like this with your partner or spouse, where you can be transparent and vulnerable with each other. I will add the caveat. What if you treated your partner like your best friend and you brought these things up not to just whine or gripe, but because you wanted the best for them? That's a good way to view it. I realized Shawn and I, probably since having kids, got so rude. It was like, I'm being mean to Shawn. Mm-hmm. I don't even I need to be nicer. So do that. And it's not like a gossip session. It's not just like a venting session. It is a
productive,
strategic, thoughtful, hey, I've seen this over the past month and I wanted to talk about it just to see what kind of compromise we can land on. So I like the idea of challenging you as a listener to do that yourself, because hopefully you don't just listen to this for the entertainment of hearing Shawn and I roast each other, but hopefully you're listening to it because you're in the same phase that we are, and hopefully this just starts a conversation that maybe you otherwise wouldn't have. So that's all we have for you. I enjoyed today, and it could have gone way worse.
It could have. I feel like we're in a good place.
We haven't giggled like that.
I know.
In a while.
In a minute. That was good. Truly, love each other. It's all that matters. And
we truly love each other.
Truly love each other.
Okay. Nice.
And well, yeah, we truly love each other too, Andrew. That was fun.
That was fun. If you made it this far, please subscribe to the show. Give it a rating, whether that's a thumbs up on YouTube or a rating on whatever podcast app you listen to. We appreciate it. It helps get our show out in front of new people.
Yes.
And that's all we have. I'm Andrew.
I'm frickin' Shawn.
And we're the East Fam.